Alright, Bonehawks, this video is all about Quan Chi, and today I'm going to go through his matchups and I'm going to just kind of give a brief explanation of what I think of them, which ones are winning, losing. You see it all up on the screen here. There's only a couple that at this point I'm unsure of. This is going to be a starting point because things could change depending on experience, but so far I've been playing Quan Chi every day since he came out, and this is kind of what I feel about it so far. So, that being said, let's get into it.
Accept your death.
So it's a little bit too early to have like 6-4, 7-3s for the most part, other than one matchup, which if you play Quan Chi, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're starting off here with Omni-Man, and I think that we win this fairly handily because we can zone him fairly easily, and our standing 4 beats his Viltrumite stance. We'll just hit him out of it, and because it's tracking in the air or whatnot, it's just going to hit him out of wherever he is. It's a very useful tip in the matchup if you didn't know that, because yeah, it definitely changes things, and you can't just Viltrumite stance out of your projectiles. You know, the same thing you can do it with Mataro as well. Somebody puts Mataro on the screen to reflect your projectiles, just standing 4 and kick them off of there. Sub-Zero cameo, you can do that as well, except because your opponent can duck, they can sometimes just duck it and get the armor on anyways. But as far as Omni-Man goes, I feel like that it's pretty easy to zone him, and I think that's what Quan Chi wants to do, so I think I have him as a winning matchup for us. Reiko I have as an even matchup, one of the best projectiles in the game next to ours, so I feel like he can kind of contest us a lot with our zoning, and of course he's got just crazy mix and grabs up close, so I don't think it's dominant enough that I would say that we lose to Reiko, but I think that Reiko does very, very well, and if gets in, it can be problematic for us, for sure. Natara is one that I haven't really played much of. I haven't really ran into too many. I've played it once or twice, and it feels like it could be even, but for now, I'm just going to put it in unsure. If you're a Natara player and you have experience in this matchup, please let me know what you think. Yeah, from the few matches I played, it felt like it's kind of even. But, yeah, I don't know, so I'm just putting her in unsure for now. Shang Tsung feels pretty even. I played a long set with one in casual matches the other day, and it felt like pretty even. You kind of got to be aware of old man Shang's kind of upwards fireballs while you're doing your zoning. But Shang has good projectiles, and because of Quan Chi's slow buttons, he can actually kind of get a kind of decent-ish stagger game going off his forward 4-string. So yeah, feels pretty even to me from what I've played so far. Sub-Zero is an interesting one, and this is another one that I've played quite a bit of. I'm actually going to put this in the winning category because we kind of shut down his entire clone shenanigans just by doing a standing 4, which is a big part of his game. He also has kind of the low damage output depending on the cameo. I mean, usually most of the time I see him with Serena, and it's not as big of an issue. But yeah, we also are on the low damage, but we want to get our damage more from zoning. That being said, Sub-Zero does have some good options with his slide. Obviously, he's got to be careful about that, but it is an option. But I think that just all in all, our buttons, our whole tool set does really well to combat Sub-Zero, and I think it's a winning matchup for us. So Smoke is one that I've actually played a lot with my teammate Gooby, and I must say I am not a fan of this matchup. It is really forces us to play like not how we want to play, you know, like it's just his movement, the way that he just kind of moves around neutral. Obviously he has a teleport, invisible mix-ups, all that kind of stuff, especially with us being a little bit slower when he's up in our face. It's not very fun. I don't like playing against Smoke. So he is the first one that I have as a losing matchup for Quan Chi. Li Mei is an interesting one because she's fairly easy to zone out. Like once you kind of get her full screen, you know, it's GG's. She's just going to hang out there for a while unless she has like a certain cameo. But when she gets in, and if she can hit us, oh boy, if you got Scorpion with you there, we're eating more than half our life easy. And so that's just like 2 hits and we're dead. So it's classic rushdown zoner matchup. I think it feels pretty even to me for sure. And if you play any of these characters and you disagree with me, or maybe you know something about the matchup that I don't, let me know in the comments down below. I'm always open to having my mind changed, given new information. So I'm all about that. Share the knowledge. Baraka on paper you would think is a good matchup because, you know, he's just kind of raw in your face kind of a thing, but his blade charge is actually can be fairly good for him to get in, and especially which I see a lot of them paired with striker cameos. It's basically a free blade charge in, and then because we are a little bit slow, Baraka can steal turns back when he really probably shouldn't, at least in my experience. So yeah, similar to Li Mei, where it's a classic rushdown versus zoner, I do think Li Mei is a little bit easier to zone out than Baraka personally, but so far it feels pretty even. Anya is an interesting one. I've played a long set with my teammate I'm Black James, and she has a good movement. She has a projectile that will kill all of our projectiles. Not to mention her stagger game up close is pretty crazy with good damage. And yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, a losing matchup for young Quan. And when I say losing, I don't mean like it's absolutely impossible to win ever, you know. I mean like, you know, like a 6-4, you know, if 10 games were played, we would 4, Tawny to win 6, you know, that kind of a thing. So there's only one character who's coming up here who will put in a worse category. Geras, in my opinion, is a losing matchup, but I would be open to maybe moving him to even. Just because he has some really good ways around projectiles. He can do he obviously has his sand trap. He's got his time stop stuff. So yeah, he definitely counters us in that regard, as well as, you know, command grabs and mix-ups up close are never fun for us. So yeah, I think it's just slightly losing matchup. Given the talking points, I may move him to even, but I feel like we probably don't win that matchup. Reptile feels pretty even to me. Doesn't really swing either way. Lots of projectiles. What is annoying is his low crocodile crawl thing that he does. And can kind of move in, and I find that playing against Reptile, there's like no neutral. It's just like you're full screen or you're right up in each other's faces. So yeah, he's got some good setups and stuff like that, and of course any character that can go invisible and do 50-50s is going to be a good character. But yeah, the matchup feels pretty even to me as long as we can get everything going and on the screen. Havoc feels like a winning matchup. I will admit I haven't played any like sets or anything like that, but I haven't really had too much problems with the Havocs that I've played. You know, most of them would have to rely on Sub-Zero cameo to kind of skirt the projectiles. Otherwise, it's fairly easy to keep him out. He doesn't have too many, you know, screw neutral moves. The big kind of blood ball that he does can be annoying, but because it's such a slow startup and our standing 4 usually kills it before it gets going, it feels like it's a pretty winning matchup for us Quan players. Ashra is most certainly a losing matchup for us. She just kind of skirt a projectile game altogether. She just touches you in 5 hits and just shits out damage. Like, it's she's crazy. She's definitely crazy, and a lot of the things that she does, we don't have answers to. So yeah, definitely a losing matchup. Again, if we can get things going, start things at full screen, but she can usually teleport through our projectiles before we can get much going. So yeah, it's definitely a losing matchup for us. Sindel feels fairly even to me. She does out-damage us, but we can keep her at bay a little bit with our zoning. She has also the projectile destroying move, but maybe it's just because I played her for a month and I'm just so familiar with how she works, I just don't struggle in that matchup. Or maybe I've been playing the wrong Sindels. I don't know. But it feels pretty even, you know, not winning or losing either way. We both kind of can get our game plan going at as best we can. So General Shao definitely feels like a winning matchup for us. That feels good to me. It's although when he gets in and gets his shenanigans going, it's, you know, it's party time, but I think that's most characters. Maybe a little bit more for us because we're a little bit slow, but I feel like it's way easier for us to keep him away than it is for him to get in. The moves that he has that would kind of close that distance will generally be unsafe, and then we can get a full combo punish until you're full screen again and to, you know, do whatever you want. That being said, if you can get in and get his stuff going, it works. It's good for him, but I feel like it's just easier for us to play our game plan, so I have it as a winning matchup for us. Young Scrompian here feels pretty even. Of course, teleport characters are going to skirt what we kind of want to try and do. And then we got the spear to worry about as well, but our standing 4 is usually good at dealing with the spear, whether it's reacting to the startup, which I don't like to do because you can just let it whiff and do standing 4 into the bone dome or something like that and get your shenanigans to going. But of course he's got a good teleport And he does suffer a little bit in the rushdown area, which is fine for me because, you know, obviously we don't want to rush down. So he's not as scary in that department, depending on the cameo that he's using. But yeah, it's fairly even. We can try and zone him, but we got to be careful about it and just watch out for the teleport. Even Stevens. Katana, I actually don't know yet. I'm going to put Katana in unsure. I'm actually, like, as Quan Chi, I've beat most of the Katanas that I've faced. But on paper, she seems like she should beat us. Like, she's got some really good, like, anti-zoning stuff. She's got literal touch of death combos. So if I had to guess and put her somewhere, I'd put her in losing just based on paper. But I haven't played enough yet. Hopefully I'll be able to get a set in with Retro and to kind of show me why it's a losing matchup. Retro's Katana is absolutely insane. But yeah, for now I'm just going to put unsure because I haven't played enough to really know. And every Quan player knew this was coming. Johnny Cage is our worst matchup. He is not fun to fight. He can abuse strings and things that he can't really use against other characters, only against Quan because of how slow we are. And it's not a case of if he gets in, it's just when he gets in with his shadow kick and whatnot. It's just such a good tool at closing distance and with so many ways to make it safe. He's getting in one way or another, and then once he's in, it's GG's, shake my hand. The odd time that we can keep him away keeps this from being like a, you know, like a 10-0 matchup in my opinion, but it definitely feels 7-3, maybe even worse. So all I know right now is it's our worst matchup. It'll be interesting to see if it gets better with changes down the road, but for now, this character makes me not even want to play Quan Chi. Kenshi feels rough for sure. Like, I know he's a top tier character, so I mean, there's that, but also another character who's hard to keep away. Once he's in, you got the Sento shenanigans going, and then you just kind of got to block and hope, just wait it out. And then, yeah, outside of, you know, Sento, he's not super scary. It's more of him as a character, but it just feels like he has more advantage, and once he gets in, he's a little bit more impressive than what he can be full screen. So yeah, losing matchup, not by a lot, I don't think, but just like a 6-4 kind of scenario. Kung Lao feels even, you know, from the Kung Laos that I've played. He can get in, he's got some good strings, he's got some good staggers, that quick overhead. He does need cameo access to that, but I mean, it's still a good option. And then we actually don't struggle too bad with keeping him away. We can usually, in the most part, put up a bone dome or something trapped to kind of keep him from just blasting his way in. His safe armor is annoying, but it's just a thing that you have to worry about in that matchup. So yeah, it feels pretty even to me, not swinging one way or the other. Melina, I'm on the fence about. She can skirt our zoning in a couple different ways, but everything she does is super unsafe if we read it. So I kind of have her in even. A lot of the stuff I think Melina players can do, like on reaction to it. So I don't know. It might be a losing matchup. I don't really think so. From just the Melinas I've played, it feels pretty even. You just have to be careful. And if you bait them into something, you know, damage into restart and try again kind of idea. So yeah, I'm going to put her in even now. But if Melina's, you're out there, you think you beat Quan Chi, let me know what you think. And yeah, I'm open to it. Raiden is losing for sure. Not a fun matchup either. Teleport, large damage, good brush down, good chip damage, just basically does everything better than us. And doesn't really allow us to play the game that we want. So definite losing matchup. We basically lose to all the top tiers. That's just Quan Chi life right there. Rain, I will go on the record and say so far feels like our easiest matchup. It's definitely winning for sure. Maybe that'll change down the road, but we're just able to keep him out so easily, even when he puts up his little piss circle thing around him. I mean, our EX projectile, or our portal projectile will break that super easily and then get a hit in on him, and then we're just starting again. So we are pretty impressive when it comes to the zoning portion of things. So yeah, it definitely, I don't struggle in that matchup at all. And lastly, Liu Kang. Liu Kang feels pretty even. I would be open to putting him in losing more than I would be open to putting him in winning. But from what I've played, it feels pretty even, you know, just kind of back and forth. His low fireball does a good job of countering our projectiles, but we can also keep him at bay a little bit more. He has to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more cameo dependent if he's gonna win on us. But yeah, his rushdown is definitely a problem. So although we don't have the hardest time keeping him away, when he gets in, it can be rough for sure. So it feels pretty even to me. And that's it. My full Quan Chi matchup chart as of right now. Like I said, I've been playing him from the date of release almost every single day up until today. So yeah, my overall thoughts on how good I think Quan Chi is. I think he's in the mid-tier department. Just looking at his matchups, probably mid-lower. I'm not really ready to say he's the worst character in the game, because I don't think that's true. But I think he definitely plays the game a lot differently than pretty much any other character, and very more uniquely. So I don't think he's like unviable by any means, but you definitely have to make sure you have certain matchups and make sure that you're playing to his strengths in order to be using him at an optimal level. And hopefully you don't run into any Johnny Cages. That being said, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't because I make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff, and we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.